Hi, my name is Jake Price, and I'm doing a research assignment in my child development class. The topic I decided to go into depth on is the relationship between parents and adolescents. This I thought was a really fascinating topic because it obviously really relates to where I'm at right now, sort of, or at least where I've been most recently in terms of my development. But there was a quote I just wanted to start with that I thought was really fascinating. It's actually from the textbook in class that we have. It's called The Developing Person Through Childhood and Adolescence. It's on page 463 and it's under the parents section. It just says here, disputes are common because the adolescents strive for independence arising from biological forces, psychological impulses, and social expectations clashes with the adult's desire for control. Now, I thought this was super fascinating because it really helps me at least to understand why this conflict happens just a little bit better, I guess. What I understand from it is that basically adolescents want to have adolescents want to have independence in the situations, and parents, on the other hand, want to maintain control. The adolescents want to gain their own experiences and figure things out on their own. And it says here social expectations. So they may see their friends doing something and they want to do it on their own, but the parents maybe think it's not the best thing for them. And so conflict just arises in that way. And I thought that was really fascinating. And that quote alone is kind of what my whole research and presentation is going to be about, or at least that topic at least. But to start off, just to interact with you guys, because I can't really do it face to face, I just invite you guys to pause the video for a second and think for yourselves why your family relationship you have with your parents is so important to you, or if it's not, maybe why it could be important or why it should be important in your life. So go ahead and pause it, and I'll just continue on here. So something that I thought was really fascinating, a quote that I found, is from an article on ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. It's kind of a mouthful. But anyway, it's titled Furthering the Understanding of Parent-Child Relationships, a Nursing Scholarship Review Series, Part 5, Parent, Adolescent, and Teen Parent-Child Relationships. Anyways, in this article, it says parents, usually mothers, but also fathers were included, fathers were included, experience significant challenges to the parent-child relationship when children become adolescents. Typically, the parent is responding or reacting to the developmental changes in the child. Culture, socioeconomic status, and societal expectations create pressures for parents to maintain rigid control. And I thought this was really cool because it also kind of reflects what the quote I just read, but it comes from a different source, and it's so similarly written, but essentially it kind of puts it in a little bit of a different perspective. It talks about the developmental changes in the child. When those things happen, a lot of times the parents just don't know how to react because they obviously haven't experienced it yet. They've been used to their child. This is just the way I see it, I guess, is that they probably see their child a certain way, and then all of a sudden they develop with different attitudes. Maybe they're a little bit more snarky or sassy or whatever, and they just don't know how to react to that in the best way. And of course, that will cause conflict, and it's neither side's fault. It's just how it is. And so I thought that was pretty fascinating. Now, of course, when I say it's neither side's fault, that's my opinion of it. I don't really know. That's not something I researched, but an additional thing that I found, another quote, is from an article titled Development of Parent-Adolescent Relationships, Conflict Interactions as a Mechanism of Change, and it's by Susan Brangi. Now, this was an article I found super fascinating, but it says here, during adolescence, parent-child relationships are thought to become more equal, interdependent, and reciprocal, changes that co-occur with a temporary decrease in the quality of the relationship and an increase in conflict. And I was wondering, kind of reflecting back to what I was saying earlier, I was wondering why exactly does a decrease in the quality of relationship and an increase in conflict have to happen? How come at a certain point that just happens? And as I did some more in-depth research in this article, Susan Brangi talks about how parents and adolescents often have separate beliefs on what Benji calls appropriate behavior. And so an example I thought of in regard to this matter is technology. So my mom and dad did not grow up with the same technology that I have. They didn't have access to a smartphone that they could just pull out of their pocket and do whatever they want practically with. And so when they see someone like me spend a lot of time on my phone, to them, they think there's no way that can be good. They're just wasting time. What are they doing? Which is absolutely true. But a lot of times from the adolescent's perspective, they think, oh, this is normal. This is what we do nowadays. And it's just a difference in appropriate behavior, like Susan Benji talks about. So I just thought that was really fascinating, interesting perspective of things. I guess one other reference I'll go to that I found is an article titled "The Parent-Adolescent Relationship and Risk-Taking Behaviors Among Chinese Adolescents, the Moderating Role of Self-Control." And so that's the title of it. It's by Louis Na Wang and Lu Mei Tian. In the article, they mention that parents mostly provide emotional and instrumental support for adolescents and build psychological connections with them. And emotional support is believed to promote children's internalization of social values and criterions, making children more sensitive to social hints before action. The biggest thing that stuck out to me from this quote specifically is when it talks about how parents mostly provide emotional and instrumental support. It made me think of how grateful I am to be a member of the church, and I thought of the Family, A Proclamation to the World, how it talks about this. It talks about how parents are responsible to provide for the needs and necessities and things like that for their children. And it's just cool to see that, I guess, from a psychological or scientific perspective, just the truth to that. And so there's more research I did, but I guess to put it into this short video, that's just a little abstract from what I did. I thought it was a very fascinating topic to go in more depth on. Ultimately, my conclusion of it is that I feel, personally, my opinion is that if parent relationship, or I guess our family relationships, are so important, I actually learned in my research that they are connected or correlated in some ways to adolescent depression. And if that's the case and they're so important, then we need to take advantage of them. And I think advantage of the relationships. And I think that if each side gives a little way to each other and we kind of find this happy medium, that we can all be happy and it'll be good. But that's my research. Thank you so much for listening, and that's it.